Welcome, everybody, to the first ever and what I proclaim to now be an annual event.
Woo!
After 30 years on the radio, I'm introducing a new holiday special. I've dubbed it the Holiday Rush, and you figured it out by now. And if you follow on Twitter at Eddie Trunk, you know what I'm talking about. 3 hours of nothing but Rush music and talk for one of the most fanatical and diehard fan bases in the world, which I am a part of, and my special guest co-host who I have enlisted for this prestigious event in my radio history, also a Psycho fan, the one and only Mike Portnoy.
Yes. Hello. I have to tell you already, I disapprove of the Michael Schenker intro.
No,
it should have been YYZ.
No,
Come on, Eddie.
No. You're starting already. We're already fighting.
I know Michael Schenker is your tradition.
This is my trademark moment.
Come on.
It
should have been YYZ for tonight.
Even the Kiss special, it always is.
It should have been the love theme from Kiss when Kiss.
I know. I thought about that, but I have to brand the start of the show. This is like my thing.
Okay.
When people hear this, they know I'm coming on the radio.
Yeah, they think they're getting the 3-hour Michael Schenker special.
No, they don't, because most
Christmas.
people have no idea this is even Michael Schenker. They just think it's a music bed. Every week I get, hey, who's that music bed you talk over? Enough, shush already. You're starting already.
Sorry.
I got to throw him out of here already. With what I'm paying you to be here, come on. I gave you that Metal Show PBA card. That's pretty cool.
That's totally cool.
So
I'm going to go race down the streets just so I could use it.
Test it. Good luck with that. So Mike Portnoy is here. He's going to sit in with us all night. We have an interview with Alex Lifeson, which I recorded a couple hours ago. I'm going to play that at the halfway point of the Holiday Rush special. That'll be 90 minutes from now. We're live from New York City. Nothing but Rush music.
Woo!
Make your request, 888-872-1043 if you're listening live. Hit me on Twitter at Eddie Trunk. Hit Mike at Mike Portnoy. Andrew's on the phones. Welcome to all our great affiliate stations in the network, all our online outlets, and, of course, the flagship where we're doing it from, Q1043 in New York City. Lots to discuss, lots to play. The Lifeson interview in 90 minutes. And I was going to open on this 2112, playing 2112 in its entirety, and Portnoy said, you can't do it. You're going to eat up too much of the show with the long songs. Listen to this guy talking about long songs.
Says the man who writes 30-minute songs.
Yeah.
I know. It's sacrilegious to want to edit and not play the whole 2112. But there's so much other stuff. I brought some great stuff. I want to talk about Rush. I don't know.
And you know what?
I think you should just do Overture and Temples.
I agreed with you. I was going to go with the whole song, but you're right.
Yeah.
Because the Lifeson interview is about 30 minutes. The Rush song, if we take 20 with 2112, it's going to... we're going to play
Overture and
four
Temples
songs.
is good. And why don't you close with Grand Finale? If you don't have a closing, at least you'll be bookend it with 2112.
We'll see what happens when 3 hours from now, what we want to close with. So this album has just been released in a special 5.1 deluxe edition remix. We're going to give you a chance to win some of these tonight. And we're going to open, of course, on this 2112 with 2112. The first ever Holiday Rush, Eddie Trunk, Mike Portnoy, is underway. Rush fans, geek out with us for the next 3 hours. And if you're not a Rush fan, listen and learn. All right, we are underway. The first ever Holiday Rush. Eddie Trunk, Mike Portnoy bringing it to you. Need some love going. First album. John Rutsey stuff right there. And we started with part of 2112.
I'm chronological. I'm putting his CDs. He's got the whole Rush collection here, but they're not in chronological order, and it's making me crazy.
As typical as you could possibly imagine, we're already arguing and debating what we're doing.
And he's missing my favorite Rush album of all time. It's the only one that's not in here.
It's mine too. We'll find it. It's just got to be misplaced. Here's something from the newest album. Clockwork Angels, Caravan. Eddie Trunk, Mike Portnoy, Rush fans, rejoice. That is the opening track on the brand new, well, not brand new, but newest Rush album, Clockwork Angels, Caravan. Those two songs, Caravan and the one that follows it on the album BU2B, actually came out about 2 years before the album itself came out. And Mike and I were just talking. Those are still probably two of our favorite songs on that entire record. Really good, I think great Rush songs.
Yeah, for sure.
And I talked to Alex Lifeson. He couldn't call in live due to his schedule, but I did record an interview with him just like 2 hours ago that we're going to air a little over an hour from now. And it's we talked for a while, so you're going to get a good bit of information in there. I took some questions from Twitter earlier that people sent me. I hit him with those at the end, and he'll give you all the information you want to know about Rush and the 2112 reissue and the album we just heard and their future plans and much more when he comes in right smack in the middle for some conversation about Rush with one of the members, Alex Lifeson, and of course the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame I address as well. So get ready for that interview about an hour.
I hope you behaved
from now.
yourself.
I did, and I talked to Alex for a while off the air, and listen, it's so cool to have bands that are icons, legends to us that step up and do something like this around the holidays and call in and support what I do. And they were well aware, let's just say, of my beating the drum over the last decade or so, as all the fans. But they knew what I was doing on TV and stuff, and really, he really said some really cool things. So means the world to me. And
did he ask you to induct them?
No, somebody said that on Twitter too. I said I don't think the Hall of Fame would allow that, even if Rush did.
They wouldn't allow. They're not going to let you anywhere near the building, Eddie.
Well, I don't know if I'm going to be by the building, but I did go. Metallica had me as their guest when they went in, and there's nothing. If the artist says they're with us, there's nothing you can do.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you this about as far as the people that induct the bands, the band has input, but the hall has to sign off on it. I know that for a fact, and they want the biggest celebrity name they can find. Yeah, they want an actor. They want a big movie star.
I'm gonna predict right now. Here's my prediction: Jack Black or Billy Corgan. Well, Billy Corgan might be. I don't know.
I don't think Billy Corgan's big enough for what they're looking for,
not.
Meaning the hall. I think.
Trying to think who's in there that would be right to induct them.
Like that actor Paul Rudd, I know is apparently a Rush fan. It was in that scene in the movie. How about Stephen Colbert?
Yeah, I don't know, but don't you think they would get an artist or somebody that's in there already, like a Flea or maybe Lars or something like? Well, Lars,
Possible.
Lars would be on tap for Purple. If and when that ever happens, maybe in 2050.
Yeah, because it makes a lot of sense to put in 55 bands that Deep Purple influenced before Deep Purple.
Hey, maybe LL Cool J can induct Rush, I'm winding him up. You guys got to see his face right now.
Let's stay positive. We're celebrating, as disrespectful as it is that they had to wait over 10 years, we're celebrating the fact that they finally
Better late than never.
Yeah, and we're celebrating, of course, next year, 40 years of Rush.
Unbelievable.
Which I bring up to Alex in the interview. So there's some teasers for you.
Probably more if you count Geddy and Alex being together.
Right, if you count pre-first album.
Yeah, they're past 40 at that point.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, incredible.
And I also asked Alex in the interview about the rumored retirement. These guys talked about slowing down and stuff, and you'll see what he says about that. So there's enough, as if Portnoy and I's witty repartee wasn't enough to keep you tuned in. And all the great music we're about to play. There's some teasers for the upcoming interview with Alex Lifeson.
I'm psyched. I haven't been here in fanboy mode with you in a long time. I'm psyched. I mean,
it's been a long time since we did a Metal Summit.
I know. I mean, the last bunch of times I was in here was, part of promoting something or whatever, which is fun and okay. But I love when I come in here and can geek out with you. And we just talk metal, talk hard rock, talk favorite. I'm a fan like you and like the listeners, and this is my favorite thing in the world, so I'm totally looking forward to this.
And with the 15 bands you're in, you'll be in plenty of times to promote stuff, so don't worry about that. All right, let's take a break. You can hit up Mike on Twitter, at Mike Portnoy. You can hit up me, at Eddie Trunk. If you're listening on our flagship Q1043 in New York City, you're hearing the show live, which means you can call in at 888-872-1043. Make your request to Andrew. If you're listening anywhere else, you're hearing the show on delay, but we got you covered via your email request that came in through eddietrunk.com, and appreciate all the great stations that bring you this show each and every week. We are going to continue. The first ever annual Holiday Rush special continues. Mike Portnoy has come armed with rare Rush bootlegs. We're going to sprinkle them in.
Yes.
I should mention, by the way, we heard Need Some Love in there from the very first album and part of 2112 to open the show. So when we come back from the break, we go to the Portnoy collection. And something that is very rare that I have not even heard yet, that isn't on any album. I'm sure I'm sure it's okay that we play some of this stuff, and the band is supportive, so I'm sure they won't have a problem with us going into.
Hey, it's all about the fans here. We're all fans here. We just want to hear cool stuff and great Rush.
So we go to some rare stuff from the Portnoy archives of Rush circa 1980 live when we come back.
With Eddie Trunk.
Eddie Trunk back with you. Mike Portnoy hanging out as well. Yeah. These 3 hours are going to go fast because we're already a half an hour into it. And we haven't even scratched the surface, but obviously you're dealing with 40 years of amazing music from Rush. Rarities we're going to get to. We're going to work in some album tracks. We're going to work in some of your requests. And, of course, about 30 minutes of the show, about an hour from now, will be taken up, for good reason, a conversation with Alex Lifeson that I recorded just a couple hours ago. So all that's still to come. But we go to the Portnoy archives. What do you got, Mike?
I brought so much good stuff. I don't know where to start. I listened to a lot of this when I was driving in, and this stuff is just so amazing. I brought 4 different bootlegs with me, 3 different eras. So let's start with this one. This is from 1980. This is from the Permanent Waves tour, but they premiered Limelight and Tom Sawyer on this particular leg. So everybody in the world has played Tom Sawyer, but you're going to play the most unique version of Tom Sawyer.
Normally I would never play Tom Sawyer.
Yeah, exactly. I would never pick Tom Sawyer to play, but this is a total unique version. This is before they recorded it. So there's a lot of differences, and most notably in the drum department. I mean, Neil is famous for, once he records a drum part, that's it. He will play the same drum part the same way for the rest of eternity. He's played Tom Sawyer the same exact way every night, ever since 1981. But this predates it. So the drum parts are still being developed as different drum parts, a different guitar solo, some different lyrics at the end. It's really incredible.
I wonder how many times in Rush's history they have played songs live before they existed on an album.
I saw them at Radio City Music Hall in '83, which was the Signals tour, and they premiered 3 songs that would be on Grace Under Pressure.
Okay.
At those shows. And that was interesting because we're jumping ahead now, but at those shows it was the first time Neil had electronic drums behind him, but he didn't have a spinning riser yet. So they played I think Red Sector A and Red Lenses and Body Electric, I think, if I remember correctly. And he would actually turn around and play those songs with his back to the audience.
Huh.
But they premiered, this was before Grace Under Pressure was even recorded, and they premiered them then. But this is interesting. This is the Permanent Waves tour, and they premiered Limelight and Tom Sawyer before having recorded them. I got to read this set list is unbelievable. This is
Allentown, Pennsylvania, 1980.
This set list is like my dream set list. They open with 2112 Overture and Temples, like we just did, into Free Will, By Tour, Xanadu, premiered Limelight, The Trees, Hemispheres Prelude, Spirit of Radio, Closer to the Heart, Beneath, Between, and Behind, premiered Tom Sawyer, Jacob's Ladder, A Passage to Bangkok, and Natural Science. It's just like every single one of those.
You did make a copy of that for me, right?
Yes. It's incredible.
All right, so here it is, a pre-release version done live of Rush from the Portnoy archives of Tom Sawyer. Listen for this primitive version and what they would change when they actually went in the studio shortly after this and actually recorded it for the Moving Pictures album. Can't vouch for the quality on this because it's somewhat of a bootleg, but
no, it's good.
Mike says it's good enough to air, so we'll do it. And I'm going to leave. I haven't heard this yet, but when I queued it up, I heard the intro from Geddy.
This is probably the only time Geddy has ever introduced Tom Sawyer. They never introduce it by title.
Right.
They just go into it.
A lot of times they open with it.
Yeah.
So, all right, here we go. Rush, the Holiday Rush, Eddie Trunk, Mike Portnoy, the first of a brand new annual special. Enjoy.
Thank you very much. We'd like to do something else for you that's brand new. This is also going to be on our next album. This is called Tom Sawyer. Today's Tom Sawyer, mean strike. Reserve the right on to the friction of the devil.
This is Geddy Lee of Rush,
and Alex Lifeson.
and you're listening to Eddie Trunk, the best variety of hard rock and heavy metal.
Well, something Mike and I agree with, that is both of our favorite Rush albums.
And might be my favorite song off there. That's as good as it gets.
I agree on that front as well.
And that is the song that I think Rush fans are still waiting for them to break out in a new tour. I think this one, I don't think they've played this since the Permanent Waves tour, or maybe the Moving Pictures tour. So it's been at least 30 years since they've played that one live.
See, this is why I kind of just realized why Alex Lifeson wanted to record the interview beforehand and not call in live, because he didn't want to get pummeled with two idiots firing off about this stuff.
They've done well, though, I must say. I mean, they started doing Natural Science again. They did the Camera Eye now, which fans have been waiting to hear.
Yeah.
They broke out Circumstances. So I even though they take a lot of heat for doing very safe set lists, every once in a while there'll be one or two in there that's an oldie but a goodie that people have been waiting for. And Jacob's Ladder is, I think, the one that's still being waited for by the Rush fans.
And it's impossible, because imagine them putting together a set list. We are struggling to put together
3
hours
show
of what we're going to play. And when you factor in, obviously, Rush have some really long songs.
Yeah, but they don't really play the long ones anymore. I mean, personally, for me as a fan, I would love to not hear Tom Sawyer, Spirit of Radio, YYZ. We've been hearing
Limelight,
those.
of course.
We've been hearing those every tour for the last 30 years, and I know the reasoning behind playing them. But I personally would rather hear Jacob's Ladder and Xanadu and By Tour.
I'll tell you, most bands cannot get away without playing their hits.
Yeah.
But I think that the Rush fan base is so fanatical and so loyal, and that a much larger portion of people show up to a Rush show that know every song they ever made than maybe any other band, I think.
Right.
So I think that if any band could try to pull that move off, it would be them, but you're obviously going to have the casual fan be disgruntled not hearing that, but I say screw them, they should do it.
Now, I didn't see this latest tour. This is actually
I didn't either.
This is the first Rush tour I haven't seen since Signals. And apparently the entire show, they don't play a single song from before Moving Pictures, I think, until the encore.
Well, I missed it too, but when you hear the interview with Alex Lifeson in 35 minutes, you will hear that you will have more opportunities, because they are planning extensive touring through like 2014.
I've already seen, I was just in Europe, and I already saw, the shows for next summer being advertised over there.
They got a schedule. They're going to be active.
Rock Festival. I mean, stuff that's 9 months from now already on the calendar and being announced over there.
Got to get this break in. We did Body Electric, Tom Sawyer as well. It's Eddie Trunk, Mike Portnoy. 1 hour almost down. 2 hours still to go. My first ever annual All Rush special. I'm calling it the Holiday Rush. We are getting great requests. We're getting great tweets at Eddie Trunk, at Mike Portnoy. And we'll speak to Alex Lifeson soon, and we'll continue with nothing but Rush, all the music you want to hear, and more Portnoy rarities to come, too. Stick around.
This is Q1043's Friday Night Rush.
Start of hour number 2 of our
Wait a second.
Special.
We're past midnight. The world didn't end.
There you go. Yeah. Well, we should preface for our live audience when we're doing this.
That's right. And there's also 3 more hours on the West Coast. So.
Right. And for people listening to this outside of New York, it's a week to 10 days later, so maybe it didn't.
Well, maybe it did, right. But at least here in New York, we made it past midnight.
21:12, we made it. Eddie Trunk, Mike Portnoy, hour number 2. Of course, you guys have been listening to me for a while. You know that every year I wrap up the year with 3 or 4 weeks in a row of theme shows, and this is the first time ever I'm doing this one, calling it the Holiday Rush, celebrating nothing but the music of Rush. An interview that I just recorded with Alex Lifeson will air in a half an hour. Mike Portnoy is here to guest co-host with me. Next week, the final year-end theme show, and that is the Year in Review special, playing all the music that we dealt with on this show over the last 12 months, all the great new stuff to come out in 2012. And in that special, you'll hear some music from one of Mike's bands that made my top 10 list, Little Adrenaline Mob.
Thank you, man. Thank
next
you.
week. Yeah, so you'll catch that.
Hey, do you have a covers theme show?
I've done them from time to time.
I want to do one with you one day.
Yeah, for sure.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah. Oh, you could probably do the whole show, just your bands.
I have in my iTunes, I have like all the covers I've done.
Yeah.
Through with all the different bands. I think I'm well over 250.
Like I said, it could be the all Mike Portnoy covers. But no, I've done all cover shows many times.
Awesome.
I'll do them not around the holidays, just randomly when I feel
I want
like
to do
it.
one with you.
Yeah, they're fun to do. I've done all live shows, all 70s. Of course, the All Kiss show. The Year in Review show is really important to me, though, because I really feel strongly about playing new music from bands, and there's so much new stuff that falls between the cracks, and it's a great opportunity next week's show and every year to sit there and
between the cracks.
Yeah, to take in stuff you may have missed, and if you hear stuff you like, to go out and support it and buy it. And you can hear it all in one show next week as our Year in Review special. Then we get back to the normal shenanigans, wide variety of hard rock and metal that we do every week, and of course talk and discussion as well. All right, we go back to the Portnoy archives right now.
Oh,
He's
way
brought
back.
in another rarity. Explain this one, Mike.
This is as old as it gets. This is Neil Peart's 9th show in Rush.
Before he even made an album with them?
Oh, yeah. This is, they're touring off of the first album. This is one of Rush's very first shows in America. It's Cleveland, Ohio, August 26, 1974. His first show with the band was August 14th. So this is only, what is that, like the 12 days after his very first show with the band.
Now, I didn't look at that yet, but tell me on there, what is the... Outside of the song we're going to play, which was never released,
it's mainly stuff from the first album, but there's also pre-Fly By Night tracks on here. Best I Can, In the End.
In the End, I Love.
And that's it. So In the End and Best I Can are the only two on here that went on to Fly By Night. But I have another bootleg that I wanted to play later, which has more Fly By Night songs before they were recorded.
Yeah, I want to hear Neil playing stuff from the first album.
That's what makes this so cool. It's basically the first album with Neil on drums.
Right.
But on here...
Does he change a lot from what John Rutsey played?
Well, I mean, of course, you've heard him play Working Man and What You're Doing and all that stuff through the years, but there's deeper tracks, which is cool.
Finding My Way and all that, is that on there?
Yeah. Finding My Way is the first tune on here. But what I really want to play is there's 2 songs on here that were never released. And Rush is famous for leaving no stone unturned. I mean, how many Rush songs can you name that were written and never put out? I don't think there are any. Every time they put out an album, that's it. That's what they wrote, and that's it. There's no leftover songs.
Well, that's addressed, again, I bring that up in the interview with Alex.
But they never write extra songs.
That's exactly what he says.
Well, there are 2 songs on this recording that were never recorded, and these are 2 Rush originals that never made any albums.
You're about to make Alex Lifeson's interview... You're about to out him as a liar because.
Really?
Well, yeah. Because I'm sure
he said there is nothing. Right?
He said we never over-recorded. And there's nothing because I asked him if there's ever a box set. You'll hear it in the interview. But he also says he never goes back and listens to his old stuff, so he probably doesn't even remember.
I wish he was listening right now.
I know.
I got 2 songs here that they never recorded, and
I could email him, but I don't want to be a pest. All right, let's play it. So what's the name of this song?
Well, there's 2 of them. There's one called Garden Road and one called Fancy Dancer.
What am I playing?
You're queued up for Garden Road.
Okay, so this is early Rush. Neil is in the band live.
This is only his 9th show ever. Didn't
make a studio album with him yet. New guy replacing the late John Rutsey. Of course, John was still alive then. John passed away a couple years ago. And a song that never made it onto a Rush album done live in 74 called Garden Road from the Portnoy archives as we continue with the Holiday Rush special.
We're going to do a number called Garden Road for you.
Was great. I never heard that before. That's from the Portnoy Archives. Garden Road, live Rush. Never made it on an album from 74. Heavy.
Right?
Sounds like Sabbath.
Dude, all you Rush cover bands out there, somebody's got to cover that. Now talk about like the coolest Rush song to cover. Cover that. Call your band Garden Road, you know?
Come on, put it in your repertoire. What are you doing?
There's very few Rush songs I haven't covered yet. I haven't done that one yet.
So go to the unreleased stuff. Oh, man, that was so cool and so Sabbathy. Right? That was like a bouncy, Sabbathy riff. Very, very cool. All right, we keep the music coming right now. The Holiday Rush special, Eddie Trunk, Mike Portnoy. This, for me, going to the Counterparts album, I make no bones about it. I'm open about what I love and don't like in the Rush catalog. I've talked to the guys about it in the band many times. We respect the hell out of them for being able to have an intelligent adult debate about, with the fans about what they do and don't like. Counterparts, for me, was where it started coming back.
I'm with you. I'm totally on the same page.
That's when I got back into it. Yep. That's when I was like, oh, we got the guitar coming back and the heaviness.
And that was Kevin Shirley, Kevin Shirley was the engineer. He was a young kid that got pulled out of obscurity, and he was the engineer in this album and pushed them to make a guitar-driven album.
And Peter Collins was the producer. I didn't know that about Kevin. Kevin, for the people that don't know, because it's a little inside, Kevin is a noted producer now that's worked with everybody over the last 10, 15 years.
But, it's just dawning on me. I've worked with Kevin Shirley, Peter Collins, Paul Northfield, and Terry Brown.
You are a Rush
sick.
Geek.
Totally.
You just got your Rush qualifications right there. Jeez.
But yeah, this was Kevin Shirley's break in, and one of the things was he was pushing Alex to really push the guitar back. And this next tune we're going to play, was like probably the heaviest song that Rush ever recorded.
When I heard this thing come on, this opening riff that you're about to hear, and the video, if you remember, was dark and
totally dark.
Cool. I was like, after I took a little break from Rush because it got too synthy, I was like, yes, I'm back. Totally. And here it is. Stick it out. Well, you want to go deep. We just went.
It's as deep as it gets.
We went into the deepest waters right there. Caress of Steel.
It didn't sound too bad, actually. It's like one of those songs you make fun of, like, oh, Caress of Steel. Yeah, I think I'm going ball, but actually it didn't sound that bad.
No, I mean, we're our good friend Brian Slagle was tweeting that we needed to play something from Caress of Steel, and Bastille Day I play a lot normally. And then you get into Necromancer at 13 minutes and the Fountain of Lamanith or whatever it is at 15 minutes. And before you know it, the show's over. So we did a little bit of I Think I'm Going Bald at 3.5 minutes.
I recently obtained the rarest of all Rush bootlegs, and that's a bootleg from the Caress of Steel tour.
They did that live?
Yeah. They did all these live. They did the Necromancer live. But that's a very, very hard tour to find bootlegs from.
See, we're having a big challenge here in the studio. We're taking your requests. We are taking your tweets. And we obviously want to play so much of this stuff. But the length of Rush songs is such that if we play certain ones, then we're trying to balance it out. A few Mike's rarities, a few different eras. So we're mixing it up the best we can. And we're going to stop the music now after the break because I'm going to play for you a brand new interview with Alex Lifeson that I recorded with him just maybe 2 hours ago before I came on the air. So it is hot off the presses. The only reason why it's not live is he was unable to call at the time I needed him. So we talked 2 hours earlier, recorded it right as it happened, no editing whatsoever. As you will hear, he had some phone connection problems, but this show is always warts and all, so you'll get the idea. And we'll talk with Alex Lifeson addressing all sorts of Rush stuff for about a half an hour right after this break. Brand new interview, and then we'll have over an hour to go wall-to-wall music as we continue with the Holiday Rush special. First ever that I've decided is going to be an annual event. Eddie Trunk, Mike Portnoy, my guest co-host in the studio. We'll continue talking with Alex Lifeson next.
This is Q1043's Friday Night Rocks with Eddie Trunk.
Upcoming shows you need to know about. Doro is at BB's February 4th. Uli John Ross, Stage 48 in New York City, February 6th. Tom Kiefer of Cinderella, solo show. That is February 11th, Highline Ballroom. February 14th, Testament and Overkill. Flotsam and Jetsam, too. Can't wait for that. February 14th, Best Buy Theater. The Paul Di'Anno show was postponed. The new date is February 17th, and the tickets will be honored. And March 23rd, YNT at Stage 48. All the info on everything, links to buy tickets on eddietrunk.com, which will be redesigned and relaunched in a matter of weeks. So get ready for an all-new online experience with eddietrunk.com. We're going to give you right now, since this is the Holiday Rush special, not concert tickets, but the deluxe new 5.1 DVD CD special edition remix of the iconic Rush album 2112, courtesy of Universal Music. Caller 25 gets it, 888-872-1043. Brand new 2-disc mini box set of 2112. Good luck on that as we continue with Alex Lifeson next.
This is Q1043's Friday Night Rocks with Eddie Trunk.
All right, it's Eddie Trunk, and it is awesome to have joining us right now on the first ever Holiday Rush special, the band's guitarist, Alex Lifeson. How are you, Alex?
I'm good, Eddie. How are you? Great to talk to you.
Yeah, you too, on 2112 of all things, huh?
Yeah. I don't think we were supposed to be alive today.
Is this a special? I mean, I know it's a special day for the fans, the many fans around the globe of Rush. But how did the band celebrate 2112?
Well, I'm not sure about the other guys, but we had a lovely dinner tonight, and my grandkids came over. They're going to stay with us for Christmas, and so they've been running around. We gave them one gift to open. because they're just driving us crazy, to be honest with you. But we had a lovely dinner and a couple of glasses of wine, and everything's fantastic. It's nice to be off the road for a bit. We've been working very hard for the last 5 months, so it's nice to have a little bit of a break and have some family time.
What is the holidays like in the household? Do you usually travel? I mean, you spend so much time on the road. Does everybody come to you? Is it do you do a big Christmas Eve thing, Christmas Day thing? Well, how do the holidays work in the Lifeson family?
Well, we switched things up with my two sisters, but this year everybody's doing a separate thing. Typically, we have a little house up in the country, not too far from Toronto, and the kids, our grandkids, I have two grandsons. They come up, and my sons, of course, and we open our gifts, and then we spend the whole day cooking, and then we invite some friends that don't have any place to go. Howard Ungerleider, who does our lighting, has been a Christmas guest for probably 30 years now, and they come and spend Christmas with us. We have a really lovely day together, cook all day, eat all night, and then recuperate the next day.
Just like regular people, it sounds like.
Yeah, exactly. Of course.
Well, Alex, it's been a while since I spoke to you guys, and I missed the tour for Clockwork Angels, and your office was nice enough to invite me out to some shows, but I was doing a fair amount of traveling myself, and it just didn't work out. But I heard rave reviews about the show, and the album itself I haven't even had a chance to mention to you, but there's one thing that I've told my audience a number of times that I will never forget about Clockwork Angels, and that was a couple years ago when I was talking to you at the after party for the Beyond the Lighted Stage documentary.
I remember that, yeah.
And we were having a drink talking, and we were talking about the different eras of Rush, and I was saying how, I like the more guitar, heavy bass stuff, and I was so glad you guys were kind of getting back to that. And I will never forget, over a drink, you looked at me and you said, Eddie, what we got coming next, you're really going to like. And you delivered, man. You delivered in a big way, because the album is full on back to the Rush that I love most in terms of that power trio, guitar, in your face, crunchy sound. And I just love it. And congrats on it, man. I'm sure you're still very proud of it, right?
Well, yeah, thank you very much. We are very proud of it. With this record, we really wanted to strip things down and have a more direct approach. We were very proud of what we had done with Snakes and Arrows, but we wanted to strip it down a little bit more and have it kind of a little more of a three-piece, kind of straight-ahead thing, much like our early albums were, that we'd forgotten about. It's a long time ago. We don't really listen to those records. So it was nice to have that kind of approach and have the results come out the way we wanted to. Beyond that, playing most of the album live and having a string section behind us. And by the way, these string players are awesome players, and they've become an integral part of the band at this point, and the presentation of the material. They're all fantastic players. They're all very, very enthusiastic and exuberant and wonderful to be with. And it's great to share the space with them. And I think it's elevated a lot of our music and the presentation to a new level. And I think that's probably been the reason more than anything else that we've had such positive reviews of this tour.
Was that the first time? And having seen you guys, I guess probably around 80, 81 was my first time, but was that the first time any other musicians shared the live stage with Rush?
Yeah, as far as I can remember, yeah. I don't think we've had anybody on stage with us at any time.
I mean, of course, you had, like, on records, you had Amy Mann and stuff like that, but yeah, I mean, as far as actually touring on stage, yeah.
Yeah, and, we talked about it over the years. For one reason or another, it just wasn't the right time, but we really wanted to do it this time around. Now, we were really cognizant of, bringing in a string section could make things a little, I don't know, stodgy in a way. But we're really fortunate. David Campbell did some great, what's the word I'm thinking of?
Arrangements?
Arrangements, thank you. He did some great arrangements, and they're all, really enthusiastic. They're all really rockers at heart. So I don't know, the way they interpreted his arrangements really, made the material sound great together, and that's really been the key. They're not like a formal classical string section that's playing rock music. They're all rockers at heart that get it and play that way.
Right. It's Eddie Trunk talking live with Alex Lifeson, our first ever Holiday Rush special, spending the entire show playing the music of Rush, now taking a break to talk to Alex about the latest goings-on with Rush. And, you know, Alex, we mentioned 2112, and today, just before I got here, I fired up the Blu-ray 5.1 new remix of that album, and actually sat with my 8-year-old daughter, who read along in the booklet and looked at the images on the screen and endured the entire thing with me. I got her away from Disney Channel and all her shows, and she actually took in the entire 2112 experience for the first time. And it was pretty amazing, because not only does the treatment that you've given to this classic record sound amazing, but watching how timeless it was in a way. I mean, here I am watching my 8-year-old daughter, whose attention span is limited beyond belief, take in this whole record, and I'm looking at her, I'm like, wow, this is crazy. 36 years later, this thing still gravitates and grabs onto people. Talk a little bit, if you can, about what you've done, because this reissue is really cool. I know you did something similar to Moving Pictures, but, you know, taking your albums and really doing these dramatic surround remixes to them.
I love that kid.
Well, it's the next demographic, you know.
Oh no, that means I got to work longer.
Yeah, you got another. She's still about 5-6 years from coming to a show, so you got to hang in there for a while for me.
Ouch. You know, it was interesting what had happened with Moving Pictures. I think the 5.1 mix of it was really effective. It sounded great in 5.1. It wasn't, you know, particularly tricked up. You know, it was just a greater environment listening to those songs. And that's really what Rich was shooting for with the mix. Rich Chicky, who remixed the record. What he was aiming for with 2112. And when we sat down and listened to it, it was interesting to come back and listening to that material after not hearing it for a very long time. And it just, you know, particularly and you know, it kind of puts you in the space, and I think he did a great job. And you know, we added a lot of things to it to make it a very enhanced kind of presentation for basically what is the anniversary of that record.
Yeah, well, you've got the visual images that come up, and there's a booklet, and there's a few different configurations, but it was so cool to hear that album like that, which I always thought was a great sounding album, and I thought what you did to Moving Pictures was so cool as well. And I wonder, does this kind of tempt you to kind of address more titles in your catalog like this? Because as I hear Moving Pictures like this, and as I hear now 2112, you know, my mind starts to go into hemispheres and permanent waves. And I mean, I know you could go nuts with this, but do you want to try to do this? Are there other titles you'd like to do this to in the Rush catalog?
Well, all along it was Moving Pictures in 2112. I think we all felt that those were the key records, and we weren't sure whether the 5.1 surround thing and reissuing and all of that stuff, but the response has been very positive to both those records. Beyond this, I'm not really sure. You know, we tend to look forward more than backwards. As I said, those two records were key because I think they really deserve this kind of treatment. It's a different listening experience, and it's really uplifting listening to those records. I know that when I listened to them just for approvals, I was really, I don't know, I was really caught off guard. I didn't think that it would have as great an effect as it does. Sure, I think we could probably do that with all our records, but I'm not sure if we want to go back that way as much as go forward. We have to see. You never know what's going to come up next with us.
But it sounds to me like, and you kind of alluded to this earlier when we were talking, is that you really don't go back and listen to old Rush records. Is that the case, unless you're really doing something like this where you need to revisit it to approve it? I mean, do you ever go through your catalog and say, oh, let me pull out Farewell to Kings for old time's sake, or do you kind of just keep an eye towards what's going forward?
Yeah, I don't think any of us really listen to our older records that much, unless we're planning on playing a song from that record. And quite often what happens is when you're listening to a specific song, you end up listening to the whole album. Geddy and I went through this exercise a few years ago when we were prepping for a tour, just to see whether we were comfortable with some of the songs that we were talking about including in the set list. And it was interesting to go through it. I mean, I was up at my place with my son and some friends of his, and we had a lovely dinner and a barbecue, and they're younger, and they were talking about influences that they felt with certain records, and they actually played Crest of Steel just on a little boombox thing. And I was sitting there, and I wasn't really sure how to listen to it, because it was, in one way, it was kind of uncomfortable, but in another, it was a very interesting experience to listen through that record, something that I hadn't listened to, I don't know, 30 years, more than 30 years. And to hear what we did then with these ears that are this much older was really fascinating to me. And listening to their comments about certain songs and about certain textures and sounds and that sort of thing. And the fact that we were only 21 years old when we made that record, it was quite interesting.
Yeah, I mean, that's the big thing, that us as fans, we kind of live with those records every day, and they never get old to us, and we grew up with them. And just like you, I'm sure, with these bands that bands you're a fan of growing up, whatever it may be, you don't ever look at it in that context as the artist would, to go back. And I understand that. It's funny on an almost a different level, but doing the TV show I do, which you guys were nice enough to do a while ago, I'm the same way. People talk to me all the time about, they go back and they watch those shows all the time, and I'm kind of like, once I've done them and they've aired, I'm thinking about the next one, and I never go back and look at it.
Of course.
And I guess it's just, when you're in the moment of doing something and creating it, you're consumed with moving forward, but as fans, whether it be music, TV, whatever, you don't always go back and take it in and kind of revisit it. And I can understand that perspective. I never could before, but now doing this, I feel the same way about what I do at times.
Exactly. And I'm sure there are so many actors like that. There are so many artists. They can't go back to the painting that they did 5 years ago or 10 or 20 years ago and go, yeah, this is it. I mean, you're always striving to move forward, and it's kind of difficult to take a turn around and look back and sort of dive into it. You listen to it and you look at it as kind of a point in your life and your development, and you're hoping that you move forward. Like every record that we make, this last record, for example, we were so into it. We worked so hard on it. We loved it. We had such a great time. This is probably the most satisfying record we made, Clockwork Angels. But a month after you release it, you never listen to it again, or unless you have to go back and relearn parts or check particular sounds out or whatever. And I've wanted to hear that record quite a few times since, but I can't seem to bring myself to it. Maybe it's because we play almost the whole thing live, and we feel that we've gone so much farther forward with the arrangements. I mean, having the string section, it makes all the songs different. It's another level of presentation beyond even the record. So that's really a cool thing. And now we're at that point. To listen to the record without those strings, it's not the same.
I'm starting to smell a Clockwork Angels reissue already with orchestra and remix.
Clockwork Devils.
Clockwork Devils, right? It sounds like that might be the next one. I'm not sure, though. You
never know.
Anything's possible in the world of Rush. We're talking live with Alex Lifeson. Couple more, Alex, and I won't keep you. I appreciate the time. we mentioned anniversary of 2112, but it's also the band's 40th anniversary, which is just, phenomenal, and how time flies. Any special plans, speaking of looking forward, to commemorate this landmark in Rush history?
Well, I was kind of hoping for retirement, but
they're not. That's
the
next question, though, because tying into that same question, I think some of the Rush faithful got a little antsy when that a form of retirement was kind of mentioned. I'm not sure by which one of you guys, but saying, hey, we just can't keep doing this forever. We may need to start slowing it down pretty soon. So that kind of ties in with the question, if you can address both of those things.
Well, we are getting older, and as you get older, physical things become a little more difficult, and it's not like we're crippled or anything, but it's tough to play a 3-hour show, and it's very, very satisfying, and it's great for the first couple of months, but that third month or fourth month, you really start to feel it, and I don't know how we address that. I can't see us playing less than a few hours. That we have so much material. Do we go back to having an opening act and then playing a shorter set? I don't know. These are things that we have to address in the future. I know that we're...
Oh, Alex, are you there? Your phone's cutting out on me.
Oh, sorry.
You just were about to give us some great stuff, and the phone died.
Oh.
You're kind of drifting in and out a little bit.
Oh, sorry. I was just saying.
We're breaking up. You're breaking up again.
Oh. Is that me or you? Or
you're back now. We got you now.
Okay. We have a little bit of a snowstorm up here. Maybe that's why. But anyways, what I was saying was it's very challenging and demanding to play for 3 hours live at this point. What we do in the future, I'm really not sure. I can't really see us having an opening act or playing less than the few hours that we play, but we have to address that at some point. I can tell you that we're looking at, our plans are taking us through 2014 and a little bit beyond. So who knows?
So that's mapped out, and I assume those plans predominantly are live shows?
It's mapped out in pencil at this point, and it's an ongoing thing. And, we just came off the road. We still have next year, and it's going to be probably a little more of an extensive tour, April to August at least.
And will that be the Clockwork Angels with that orchestra and everything?
We will continue with that. Yeah, we're going to Europe. We're going to come back to Canada and U.S. and, visit some places that we didn't get around to on this first half. And then we'll take a little bit of a break and then look at what we want to do for any kind of anniversary celebration. We want to do. We'll see. That's all open. We haven't made any solid decisions other than what we're doing next year. But it does look like we're making plans for a few years in the future, so forget about this retirement crap.
All right. Well, every Rush fan listening just took a big exhale there, so that's good to know. And Alex, the last thing from me here is, and I kind of saved this for last because anybody that knows me, watches me, listens to me, knows that I have been screaming publicly to the head of this organization on TV, on radio, about the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame for years now, and the incredible oversight, not only of Rush but other bands as well. So congratulations. At least I can stop screaming about one band. My blood pressure will go down a couple ticks. I'm so happy that this has finally happened for you. Like most fans, I feel it's incredibly disrespectful that you waited this long, but at least you're there where you belonged 10 years ago, in my opinion. But it has happened, and first off, congratulations. And the other thing is your thoughts on it. And did this bother? I'm sure it didn't, but did it bother you as much as it bothered people like me and many of your fans, or did you guys just kind of be like, whatever, if it happens, it happens?
Well, first of all, I think they're probably more relieved than you are that they're finally beyond this at the Hall of Fame. You know what? it really didn't matter to us that much. We were so busy doing the things that we do, making records and touring and all of that. We didn't think that it was such a big deal. A lot of people were very upset by it. They felt slighted by it. You know, they supported the band for a long time and felt very strongly about what we did and their connection to us. And it was, you know, it was hurtful to a lot of fans. Whatever reasons they were, and you know, it doesn't really matter. At the end of the day, it's all over with. We're going to LA in April. We're going to be a part of it. We'll be gracious and typically Canadian in our acceptance and our attitude, and it's really water under the bridge at this point. I know I've said that before. It's not a really big deal. I smile about it. I can't tell you how many emails and texts I've gotten in the last couple of weeks from friends and from acquaintances and from strangers who are just so excited and so blown away by it. I had no idea that it had this kind of impact, and I mean that sincerely. It really didn't matter that much. I kind of smiled and laughed about it for the most part. I mean, there are so many other artists and bands that are more worthy than we are to be in there ahead of us. That still aren't. That still aren't.
Yeah.
But you know what? Maybe now that we're in there, maybe this opens up a door for those other bands. And if it's important to them, well, then great.
I'd like
At the
to.
end of the day, it's kind of a bit of a popularity contest. It kind of for the longest time, it was all about the bands that a certain group of people involved with the Hall of Fame really felt strongly about or didn't feel strongly about. But it seems to have changed a bit. Artists have a vote. The fans had a vote this time around for the first time. And it's probably, you know, more of a proper way of addressing the whole thing.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, the fan vote is extremely minimal. But listen, right. I'm not going to, pound. You guys are finally in, so I'll continue now. I'll start chipping away with the Deep Purples and the Kisses of the world and everybody else. But I mean, it's just. It's so deserved, and I'm so happy that. And like I said, if they keep doing the right thing, eventually, then I can calm down finally. But I mean, I got so crazy about it for so long.
Oh, I know.
On TV.
I know you did.
Well, I was so vocal in media and TV and radio and everything that the president of the Hall actually came on my radio show for over 2 hours to try to throw a wet blanket on me.
I know.
But I was like...
It was like, Eddie, relax, please, take it easy.
Well, people wonder why I care so much. And, it's just because, and I have no other reason, I have no other agenda in this except for the fact that, I'm a fan that's been doing this for 30 years. And I think the part of it that bothered me so much is that, growing up with all these bands that I loved and fighting for them and defending them and playing them and truly knowing and living their catalogs and stuff, you always went through those periods where people kind of told you that they were uncool or that why do you care about that band? That band's not the cool band. And it feels like when they ignored bands like you guys and so many others and some that they continue to ignore for so long, it felt like that hip crowd in high school who looked down at me because I had the poster for Permanent Waves in my locker, and it's still that mentality. It's like the true fan still fighting that institution, if you will, that tells you this stuff is not cool. And, that I think is a lot of where it comes from. It drums up the high schooler in me, if you will.
Well, you know what? A little bit of that is always a good thing.
I hope not for my blood pressure, but...
Yeah. But I think, it keeps it a little more mysterious, and it keeps it a little more special and a little more cultish in a way.
Yeah.
When you still have that feeling, and I don't think that's such a bad thing.
So have you guys addressed yet what you're going to do, what you're going to play, who you'll play with, who's going to induct you, or is it too early for that?
It's a little bit early for that. We, we're all a little tired after this first half of the tour, and we've shifted into holiday mode, and it's all about family, and we're not really thinking about any of that stuff. But I'm sure very soon in the new year we'll we'll kind of get a plan together and see what's required of us. I don't really know how they do any of this stuff, whether you play with some other people or other bands play your material or you're supposed to play theirs. But we did have a couple of ideas that are kind of interesting, but we'll see how they pan out.
All right. Well, we'll definitely keep posted and look forward to that. Alex, before you go, just before I came on, I sent out on my Twitter that I was going to be talking to you and ask the people just for, quick hit questions, just a few quick ones. So if you don't mind, if you can just give these folks, I just picked a handful of them of all the ones that came in. One guy by the name of under Swim Shadow 731, he wanted to know, is there a whole bunch of unreleased Rush material from over all the years that may eventually come out some point as a box set or something? Are you guys sitting on a lot of material you recorded for past albums that has never come out?
We never recorded anything that we haven't released. It's always been the deal with us. We go in with material that we want to release, and that's what we focus on. We never could really understand why a band would go in with 20 songs and then select 12. We always focused on those songs that were going to be on that record. So, no, we don't have any other material other than goofy stuff that we might have done on outtakes, but I doubt that's going to be released.
All right, Matt Mongelo on Twitter wants to know if you will ever break out the old double neck again.
You never know. I mean, if we end up doing, well, not that we've committed to anything like this, but if we were to sort of do an overview of all our material for a 40th anniversary sort of tour, then it's quite likely that I would probably bring that out, but I'd have to do a lot of upper body exercises to get that going.
A couple more quick ones here. John Rugg wants to know, what would you regard as your favorite all-time Rush album and your least favorite?
And I've been asked that question so many times, and that's impossible. It's like saying, which of your kids do you love the most and dislike the most.
Right.
Every record, I think, has a high point for me and a low point. And I think that's what drives us to move forward. So, yeah, I couldn't possibly pick one particular record.
Steve Cervantes wanted to know, what was the first guitar solo that you ever saw? Do you recall seeing someone play a guitar solo that was a big influence on you?
Oh, it was actually, I remember this. It was in July of 1967 at an arena just outside of Toronto in the suburbs where I lived, and Mandela was playing, and they played their hit "Opportunity" it was called, and Dominic Triano played this awesome solo with fuzz tone, and I never heard a sound like that before. And I met him at the show. He gave me an autograph on a pick and gave me some words of wisdom, and we became friends in years later.
Your phone cut out for a second. What was the name of the guitar player again?
Oh, geez, what's wrong with this phone? Dominic Triano. Mandela.
Gotcha. All right, and the other quick one here from Byron Everett wanted to know, what is the hardest Rush song to play live?
Well, none of them are easy, but probably one of the most difficult ones is Natural Science, to really nail it properly.
Just the arrangement or the way it was?
Yeah, it's a very dynamic arrangement. There's a lot of different parts to it. From a guitar player's standpoint, there's a lot of movement across the fretboard from top to bottom. It's always a challenge to play, although we don't play it now, but it was always probably for me one of the most difficult ones.
Well, listen, man, I can't thank you enough for being a part of this and taking some time out around the holidays to check in. And I think I'm going to be doing this as an annual event, so I may be calling on you next year around this time. And we're going to celebrate Rush every year. And I just, between the Hall of Fame, between 2112, everything going on, I said, we've got to do something. So, I'm celebrating on behalf of all the fans. I'm one as well that this is a great period of time for Rush, and everything that's happening for you guys. I'm so happy and grateful that you've taken some time to call in.
Well, it's a pleasure, Eddie. We really, really appreciate your support, and of course, everybody's support. It's a great time for us, and we're all very, very pleased and happy, and wish you a very, very Merry Christmas and a wonderful New Year, and hope to see you soon.
Same to you, Alex. Have a great one, and say hello to the other guys, and certainly hope we can hang soon.
Will do. Thanks, buddy.
Take care, man. There he goes, Alex Lifeson, giving us some time here. Very, very generous with this time.
Yeah.
And we got a lot of good stuff out of that.
You didn't ask the one question I would have asked him.
Oh, what?
I would have said, remember that album, Hemispheres? That was totally awesome. What is that? What is the Chris Farley thing with Paul McCartney?
Yeah, well, I told them that they should do that one as the next 5.1 remix, Hemispheres.
Well, actually, I need to correct Alex. He's got to get.
We'll get into this. We got to do a break when we come back.
Okay.
But thank you to Alex Lifeson, even though Portnoy feels the need to correct him.
Well, there's more than 2 5.1 mixes out there that they've released.
We'll get into this when we come back, and we'll give you another solid 60 minutes of nothing but Rush music to wrap up the first ever annual Holiday Rush special. But thank you to Alex for being so generous.
Thank you, Alex.
With his time, for calling in and being a part of it and supporting it, and his kind words. And unfortunately, we had some problems with his phone from time to time. Sorry about those things cutting out, but you got the gist of everything pretty well, I think. We'll come back with more 60 minutes of Rush, including another rarity from the Portnoy archives to start us off right after this. All right, 60 minutes left to go in our first ever annual Rush special. Hey, we're trying to mix it up with variety. I mean, as far as the different eras of Rush, different lengths of songs, a few rarities from Portnoy, some requests.
So much. We're going to have to do it every week. Forget every year.
And, of course, great conversation there with Alex Lifeson. So let's get to it, Mike. Some more music for the last hour of the Holiday Rush. What do you got?
I said, before we get into something, I want to clarify, just for the collectors out there. Alex mentioned there was only 5.1s of 2112 and Moving Pictures, but there is also, they put out these sector box sets, and each one of them had a 5.1. So Fly By Night, Fly By Night, Signals, and Farewell to Kings are also out there in surround mixes.
Hemispheres is the one we need. Hemispheres. Yeah. That's the one. That's the one. All right, so I guess we'll look for those, and we'll tell Alex they exist, too. To let him know.
He obviously didn't sign off on those.
Requests are coming in, 888-872-1043, and you can hit us on Twitter as well, at Mike Portnoy, at Eddie Trunk, and we'll grab some requests for this last hour. We're going to start off, though, with something else from the Portnoy collection of rarities. What do you got?
This is, anybody that's a hardcore Rush fan out there is going to have this, but this is not something that's widely available. This is their first single. Before they even put out their debut album, they put out a single, Not Fade Away, back in 1973.
Cover of the Buddy Holly tune.
Cover of the Buddy Holly tune. So Alex did mention that they've never recorded anything that wasn't released. I mean, granted, this was released, but this has never been widely released. So this is a pretty rare thing from the archives if you're not a collector.
And I was just looking at the Feedback collection, which was a bunch of covers that they did of songs they played early on, and this was not on there.
No. They also did Bad Boy on the first album, which was the Beatles, from Beatles 6. So, obviously, like most bands, they started off doing covers.
Right.
But this is something with John Rutsey on drums in 1973, before the first album.
All right, some early, rare Rush, and we'll follow it up with classics from the various eras and decades of this amazing band we're paying tribute to. First ever Holiday Rush special.
I'm gonna show you how it's gonna be. Y'all gonna give your love to me. Give me loving every night and day. Love is real and not fade away. Love is real and not fade away. Love is real and not fade away. I'll buy you a diamond and a Cadillac. Show it to you, baby, when I get back. Yeah, your love for me is better than real. Then I'll know just how you feel.
Somewhat of a rarity there. Live version of A Farewell to Kings, recorded at Hammersmith Odeon in London in 1978. And that's part of one of the many, many, many Rush live albums. A bonus disc in one of them, Mike. I don't know which one.
That was the bonus disc for different stages. That's an amazing bonus disc. It's getting late, sorry.
Watch yourself.
But look at the track listing on that baby.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
It is. Bastille Day, By Tour.
It's kind of the perfect
Xanadu.
middle. It's the perfect middle ground between All the World's a Stage and Exit Stage Left. It's kind of like, the exit, All the World's and Exit Stage Left, like 0.5, like right in the middle between the two of them.
Yeah.
You know what I'm trying to say.
I do.
Not making sense, but you know what I'm talking about.
I get it. Not Fade Away was a rare cover of the Buddy Holly tune that Mike brought in from his Rarities collections. It's Eddie Trunk, Mike Portnoy in the home stretch now. First ever All Rush special, calling it the Holiday Rush. We'll do it every year around this time of the year. We're really duking it out here between people on Twitter, us in the studio, various requests trying to figure out what we do.
And Tishy.
He's
sending us stuff.
Tishy's demanding the Exit Stage Left version of YYZ.
He emailed us an MP3 of something from.
Which I can't do anything with right now.
But thanks for sending it, Brian.
Yeah, thanks, Brian. He should be in here. He's probably home in Jersey for the holidays. I didn't even know. All right, so I want to play. The problem is the songs are long. I want to play like everything's 7-8 minutes. So we're just trying to pick our spots, and I want to do something early. And I also want, we did something from Clockwork Angels, but I think we should do another one from the more recent records. So I'm going to go to Snakes and Arrows right now for a song I really like on that record called "Workin' Them Angels," and we'll figure out what we're doing the rest of the way. If you have suggestions, hit us on Twitter at Mike Portnoy, at Eddie Trunk, and we'll do our best to work things in. I mean, listen, we could do Cygnus X1, but that pretty much kills the rest of the hour. It's a 20-minute song. So that's the challenge us geniuses in here are trying to negotiate. So we'll do this one for now. Admittedly, for me, that's where I started to kind of drift in the Rush world a little bit.
That's still a good album, though. I like Signals. There's
some good stuff on it. The Analog Kid, Subdivisions, of course, is on there, and New World Man. But still, it got a little, I don't know.
They missed the boat by not doing Losing It on this latest tour, because that's a whole string song with electric violin and stuff. That would have been a total deep track. Fan favorite if they would have popped it into this last tour with the string section. That would have been very cool.
But regardless of our personal tastes and personal eras that we love or don't love in Rush, we are trying to address and hit on a little bit of everything from the various decades. So there's some early 80s with Analog Kid and Working Them Angels, some more recent Rush, going back an album. Really like that song a lot from Snakes and Arrows. I'll tell you, Rush has been so cool to me over the recent years, especially over the last 10 years or so. I've done a bunch of 2-3 TV interviews with them. They once hired me to just do an interview with them for a special edition of the Vapor Trails album. Did some stuff early on at VH1 Classic. Getty and Alex came in and did that metal show in our first season before the show was even established. They came in and out on their own dime and just took a chance and did the show for me. So they've always been so insanely cool. And I did have the opportunity to interview Neil Peart for VH1 Classic, pre that metal show back around 2006. I interviewed him for television and aired, I think it was a hour interview. Used to do an interview series on that channel called Hanging With, and it was an amazing time hanging out with Neil. And I know, Mike, you've developed a friendship with him. I mean, you guys hang out?
He's been awesome. I mean, it took many, many years to get to him. As you know, he's very elusive.
Yeah.
And I was a fan since I was a kid and always dreamt of meeting him. And, but once I finally did, we actually became, good friends. And now he sends me nice emails and pictures of his daughter and sends me his books when they come out and, signs them to me. And he's one of the most generous people. It's amazing. Like, somebody like that, that's just such a real, genuine, generous person. And people think that he's like so quiet and private, which he is.
He's funny.
But
funny.
If he opens up to you, he's incredible. He sends me these huge long emails. Again, he's a great person to read. You know, I've read all his books, and his emails are the same. You know, there's constant stories, and he really opens up. And you know, I've had dinner with him many times, and he's just very talkative. Actually, he's not really a quiet guy at all. He's a very, very open person, just a private person.
Yeah, he's got to really know you and feel some sense of trust. When he did the VH1 Classic interview, and I believe it's on YouTube from 06, when I did that with him, I'll never forget, because he came to the studio with no entourage, no handlers, no people. The interview was about one of the books he had just done, and just the only time, as I've told people many times, the only time he gets standoffish is if you make a big deal out of the fact that he's Neil Peart.
Right.
If you just talk to him like we're talking and just friends hanging out. We wrapped up our interview. I will never forget it. We stood on 37th Street in Manhattan for at least 45 minutes just talking.
Yeah. He wants to talk about travel. He wants to talk about food or drinks or family life or drums. Like, I've talked drums with him. I just won't talk about his drumming. You know what I mean?
Right.
Or Rush in general. You know, when I was a kid, I would have all these millions of questions. Oh, if I could meet Neil Peart, what would I ask him? But you know what? I never got. Actually, that's not true. I did get to ask him, because I was able to cross that fanboy line once. And the first time I met him was because I was interviewing him for Rhythm Magazine. Rhythm Magazine let me be the guest editor of an issue and pick 4 people to interview. So I was able to interview Neil as a fan that one time. That was my one chance to ask all the questions and the burning questions I always wanted to ask. But every other time I've been with him, never will I talk Rush or his drumming or things like that. But he's been great. I mean, the last couple of years, he's invited me out to soundcheck. I've gotten to play his drums, and you know, it's just like a pretty amazing relationship that I have so much gratitude for. He's just an amazing person.
Well, we have 30 minutes left to go in the Holiday Rush, our now annual Rush special, the first time ever doing it here, celebrating nothing but the music of Rush, telling some stories, and, of course, just had an interview with Alex Lifeson for you. So we got 30 minutes left, and we're trying to figure out what we're doing. Portnoy still has a couple more rarities, so we're going to work in one of these when we come back. You have a live version of Fly By Night, and you have a live version of Circumstances.
We got Rush at Electric Lady Studios in 74 before they recorded Fly By Night, or we have Rush live on the Hemispheres tour 78 with a track from Hemispheres. I don't know, man. Maybe people should tweet, or do we have time for both, or what do you want to do, Eddie?
Let's figure it out. If you want to hit us on Twitter at Eddie Trunk and at Mike Portnoy, and we'll take this break. We'll come back. We'll hit you with one of those and whatever we have time for. And Mike had a great idea on how to end the show, and I think we'll try to do that as well. So we're working it out in our last precious 30 minutes of the first ever Holiday Rush. Stick around, more to come.
43.com.
Eddie Trunk back with you. Thank you for tuning in and being a part of our first ever Holiday Rush All Rush special. Don't forget, next week, the Year in Review show, nothing but music from 2012, and then we get back to our normal format. Mike Portnoy, special co-host, joining me for tonight's show, and from his collection, he said the response on the Twitter feed was fairly unanimous.
The people spoke.
And we are going to Hemispheres era Rush.
This is an amazing bootleg you're holding in your hand, sir.
1978, Detroit, Michigan.
Can I see that? Hand me both, the other one in front of you. Let me just quickly read this set list. This is unbelievable. Listen to this. Imagine, if you will, they open with Anthem, A Passage to Bangkok, Bytor and the Snow Dog, Xanadu, Something for Nothing, The Trees. Check this out. Cygnus X1 into Hemispheres. So it's Cygnus X1 and Cygnus X1 Book 2, back to back. The entire Hemispheres. Closer to the Heart, Circumstances, which we're going to play, A Farewell to Kings, La Via Strangiato, and then they close the show with the entire 2112.
Oh, my God.
They basically did the entire Hemispheres album. They did all of 2112, all of Hemispheres. They do, and then the medley, the encore is a medley of Working Man, Bastille Day, In the Mood, and a drum solo. The show ends with a drum solo.
That's like one of those set lists, like when you hear about a show like that, you wish there was just a time machine that you could just go in and go back and pick that show and go just be in that audience.
That's insane.
Yeah.
Look at that. That's absolutely insane. That's like a dream set list for the Hemispheres tour. I mean, God.
All right, well, we're running out of time, so let's play it. This is Circumstances from that show that Mike just mentioned from 1978, Classic Rush.
you very much. We'd like to do something for you now. That's from Hemispheres as well. This is called Circumstances.
To get that in, I had to get something in from All the World's a Stage, which I know a lot of people yell at me about this, but it is still Rush have a ton of live albums out. It is still my favorite live Rush album, the first one, All the World's a Stage. No, a lot of people say Exit Stage Left because of the set list, but to me, Exit Stage Left never felt live. The applause track is almost mixed totally out. There's just not that energy in it.
The songs.
I know, but I love the songs on All the Worlds too.
I know. I mean, All the Worlds is basically they followed form for like their first 4 or 5 live albums. They did 4 studio live, 4 studio live.
Now they do one after every album.
Now they do it every time. But for many, many, many years, they followed the 4 studio, 1 live, 4 studio live. It was a formula. I think the first 4 live albums were like that.
In the End, one of my favorites from that record. Just a great, great track. And also, from the Portnoy archive, a bootleg of Circumstances recorded live in 1978 from that incredible collection of songs that they did on that set list that we just mentioned a little while ago. Well, sad but true, we are almost at the end of the show. We have time for one final Rush song and what has been a really fun 3 hours of nothing but Rush and the first ever annual Holiday Rush special. Mike Portnoy has been doing a wonderful job bringing in these classics for us, these rarities, and also adding his insights as my guest co-host. We're going to take a break. And we will come back and we'll wrap it up. Mike had a great suggestion how to end it. If you heard how we started it almost 3 hours ago, you know how we're going to end it. So stick around. That's next.
This is Q1043's Friday Night.
Oh, man, this has been a blast. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it as well. I really, if you were listening to the show last week, I was saying how I was going to do something special for this week, and if I could figure it out. And what I was trying to do is I really wanted a member of Rush to participate in this if I was going to do it for the first time, an all Rush music special. And Alex Lifeson, if you were listening the entire show, indeed did participate, giving us a half hour of his time and calling in and just being great. I mean, it's so cool to have the support of these guys that are just heroes and legends for what I do. So thank you, Alex. Thank you all the guys in Rush. Amazing band, without saying, and goes without saying, I should say, and I'm grateful for their friendship and support for what I do as well. And we just scratched the surface here musically, so we had a great time. We'll do this every year. I anoint that this will be an annual thing now.
Yeah.
Still coming up with new specials. I don't know how much longer I'm going to be able to keep doing this after 30 years, but
hey, if they can, you can.
Exactly, yeah. They still have a few years on me, and that's one of the greatest things that came out of the conversation with Alex. They still have the next year or two mapped out, more touring, more activity, so Rush is not calling it quits anytime soon, and that is, of course, great news. Mike Portnoy, thank you, man.
Yeah, my pleasure. Glad I could do it.
Hey, I'm going to do it again next year this time, so if you're around,
count me in.
You are the official co-host on this one.
Thank you.
Mike, thanks for bringing in all those cool rarities.
There's
and
a lot more, so we'll do it again next year.
And listen, I mean, we did our best we could hitting on different eras and periods of music. When you're dealing with Rush, so many long songs, so many epics, and you put one of them in, then you can't play like four others, so we did the best we could mixing it up, and Mike said, judging by what he's seeing on Twitter, many people liked what they heard tonight. So thank you for that. Spread the word on it. Thank you, Andrew, for his help on the phones. And most of all, thank you to you guys. Happy holidays to everybody. Hit me up on Twitter at Eddie Trunk. You can get Mike at Mike Portnoy, EddieTrunk.com, Trunk Report, the official online home. Finally, don't forget, next week, the Year in Review special, looking back on all the hard rock and metal that I loved from the past 12 months. And you'll be hearing Mike's band Adrenaline Mob during that. And, of course, when you have stuff going on, which you always do, to talk about new music from your various bands, we'll have you in here doing all that. I just want to talk about
other bands.
That's fine, too.
Come on.
That's fine, too. We can do that,
I want to do the cover special. That's next.
We'll do a cover special. I have no problem doing that.
I'd love to do that.
We'll get into that. We'll do one of those in a month or two. So we're going to wrap it up. Mike brought up a great point. We opened with the first couple pieces of 2112. So why not end with the final piece of 2112 to bookend the first ever holiday rush? Woo-hoo. Thank you guys for listening. Have a great, happy, healthy holiday season, what's left of it, and enjoy.